so I am
is
starting this video,
and
made
have
this
enough
shit.
debt for people to be able to, or assets anyway, for people to be able to purchase them
Anyway.
in the open market, or otherwise it can't be a proper
Look
reserve
like price
currency the
gonna
way
go
that
up today.
sterling was for a long time, and the dollar has been since
I
World
think
War
it's just
II.
making
Ira, great context.
another
Appreciate it.
lower
Ira
high.
Jersey, Bloomberg Intelligence,
Just
Chief
based
U.S.
off what
interest
I
rate
only went through
strategist. We're
yesterday,
joining us
and it just
in
purely
studio. He
rejected
flew all
as
the way here just to have this conversation. It's
kinda-
Chris Watling,
kinda-
CEO
kinda
and Chief
seeing
Market
that
Strategist
it's
of
gonna
Longview
have
Economics.
some
Chris,
strong sell
there's lots of
pressure
questions to
from a
get
lot of
into, but let's
strong
just pick up
zones.
on what Ira's talking about
So
and the worries that
still end of the
the
week,
dollar
you got
could
red
lose its
folders,
status as a safe haven
red
currency, as a
candles.
world
I mean,
reserve
not
currency.
red
How real
news.
could that be in your world?
CPI. I know
Clearly it's
FOMC.
been
I think
chipped away at the
FOMC
edges
tomorrow.
with the latest policy announcement with the tariffs.
CPI
But
probably
I don't know. I
Thursday.
wouldn't want to overpin a one-day move.
And
It
then
looks to
some
me
shit Friday.
more like maybe there's some
it's a
liquidation,
whole
forced
bunch of shit,
liquidation for some
But
sort of
anyway.
reason, some sort of funds blown up. There's been a lot of volatility. You think about
Yes, I
S&P
am late,
moving
but
8%
look like
in one
price
day.
action
There are all
is
sorts of
not
things happening in
price
portfolios
action
yesterday.
today.
So, yeah,
I'm
I mean,
still
I
trying
think
to just wait
bigger
and
picture
see my
is
setup.
U.S.
Setup
exceptionalism was
basically,
a well-accepted
any-
theme at the end of
I
last
ain't
year,
gonna say any, but
and now it's being chipped away at
falling,
quite heavily
rising wedge.
by the sort of
Like I said
policy
this
announcements
yesterday,
we've seen,
falling,
particularly
rising
what we
wedge.
saw last Wednesday.
Bull
So
bear,
what does that
pennant.
mean
Ain't gonna lie,
for
little bull
maybe your
bear
economic
pennant
growth
and bull
forecast?
bear
I mean,
flag.
both the U.S. and globally,
Shit-
there's a lot of
them
folks
shit
we're seeing
tough.
bringing their estimates down for
You
GDP
know,
growth and maybe even taking
ascending and
inflation
descending with
estimates
if
up.
I
What have
see
you been
that.
doing?
But
Well, I mean, we've been talking about this idea of a mid-cycle slowdown
just
for the
still
last
being
few
patient.
months because I think
if you don't, if it moves back up, your contract will go right again.
for growth, but it does get
I can't
further
control it.
later
So it looks
in
like I
the
can
year,
short
Just take trims.
maybe some
it's
High up there.
looking like I can short it right here, but
some deregulation.
I'm
I think
not,
I'm
I'm,
gonna-
I'm not gonna get greedy.
I actually think the
I feel like, I
market's
feel like that's
fears
kind of get a little
gone
better because I
too
know I
far.
can get in
It's
right
as
now.
if, you know,
The puts are moving.
price
all the
is
way
driven
down.
the fear
Yeah,
to
I
be on
think that's just all it is. I
to
think
be
just
to
puts are
buy.
really.
Right
When
it
it
or under the
moves,
view
yeah,
up.
when it
There is a lot that's good
flips
about it.
immediately.
There's a lot of private sector that's
And
helping.
then it's
But, you know, to
like
answer your question,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's going to be
Quickly.
a lot of growth in the sort of middle of this year.
I'm gonna.
So what do you do on a day like today? Is this the day to
Yeah,
sell
just go like the
into
whole
the
lot.
rally?
Just
Do
go
you want to sell
die.
the rips
If you
here?
wanna die, just go.
No, I think it's a day to buy. So, I mean, it depends on your time frame.
Sure.
But tactically, we started
Maybe I
buying this morning.
I may catch spot
wish we
coming back
started
It's
doing
down.
it
not like a look at every other anymore.
But I
Just
think, I think there's,
back below 540.
you know, when you want to buy on a tactical basis in the market, you want to buy when everyone's panicking fearful. And that
I
was
also
yesterday.
I
That
also
was
see
a
Apple
sentiment
190.
liquidation event. The market
Five
had been selling
23
off
and
almost 2
spots.
months. It was 20% lower.
I'm buying
I think
puts.
that's quite a move.
Yep.
I mean, not
20% lower
not
prices
puts,
in a
but
small
my mouse was over
recession.
there like
I
I was
don't think it's going to be a
gonna buy
recession. And I
So I
think
got
we've had
0
the sort of
days.
shock of Wednesday, and now we're into the sort of nip and tuck of negotiation and sort of ebb and flow. I mean, some news will be better, some will be worse. So I don't think it's
It's just still the same on Microsoft, guys. This time maybe 370, 350, whatever the high is.
They're currently like $4 right now.
Taking the risk
But it's not
$4.
Then you gotta buy these
It's not
contracts
the
low
end.
and then sell them high, you know? So
What were you buying, or what are you buying? Is it
Ain't
something
gonna
that
put no
10 days
contract.
Risk will be about 5%.
this marketplace,
Solid
or is it
30
Yeah.
maybe
or
more
4%.
value?
like it's
I
gonna
think if
go
you're a
down.
trader, you
Maybe
buy
this
the
is someone I
see
agree,
as
so
well.
maybe
down
not.
the hardest, the price is the hardest. But I think if you're an investor, you buy the cyclical stuff in the market because the
Could
shape
be
of
carrying
growth
some
growth
type
is
of,
changing going forwards on a 6 to 18,
one of these,
24 month view.
You
Pattern.
need to do it in a nationalistic way, in that you want to buy companies that are exposed to the country in which they actually operate. Like, is
The
that
video
going
got
to be the
3
way
days.
If
you
SPY
think things
does
going
break this high
forward?
here, it's not even because of
Maybe there's a bit of that,
real
but
volume.
I think
Not
what
crossing,
You know,
yeah, it's
flies.
not. It's taking too long, that's the problem. I just hope they don't run a cycle today and pump it all the way to 530.
Like, we're waking up?
That's
No,
probably
we're
good.
falling asleep.
Pretty easy.
I don't know what you guys are doing, but no. I mean, in terms of
Check
so,
the
so,
hourly.
so
Yeah.
look at a
Feel me?
lot of
Check
the
the
Western
hourly.
economies, including
524
the
has
US.
to turn to resistance
You know,
here.
it's
That's the
really-
key
a lot
spot
of it's
right
really
now.
strong.
I'm gonna move on to towards
I'm
Housing
up.
activity is on the floor. I mean, it's terrible.
It's gotta
we
be
need low
good.
interest
If you're
rates.
gonna
The only
short
reason
it,
I
it's gotta be
say-
524.
I
and
say
these guys
short
are
in it, right?
Policies
Is
will
because how
stimulate
price,
Western
I'm
consumers.
understanding like price will come up,
I'll give you one stat. There's
you feel me?
$35 trillion
Go up,
of
go
housing
down.
equity in US household balance sheets.
and
never
then go
washed
back
out.
up, feel me?
And
Just
that
like,
was like 10 trillion 15
like
years
a-
ago.
like
There
a
is a
mountain,
ton
like
of
a
money
mountain.
and wealth waiting to be tapped.
how do you
You
explain
just
it?
need the right macro environment, and I think we're moving towards that.
Just look up
It's a similar story
fucking
in
a
the UK,
wedge or
similar
some
story
shit.
in
That's
Southern
it. That's
Europe,
it.
and
Looking
parts
at
of
this
Europe
shit,
as
that's
well,
just how these shits
Northern
move.
Europe are doing some good things.
30
How they
seconds
been
left. You
moving.
mentioned Europe. That had been a very nice place to start the year relative to the U.S.
Hopefully
S&P
see some
500.
volatility right
Is
here.
that still a play for you?
I think it's still
Like,
played for us.
everything on the
As
flip.
always, at the end of sell-offs, everything gets sold.
I want to say
It's
4
indiscriminate.
321. What the fuck was
But
that?
yeah,
Let's
I
see,
like
the
Europe. I
stop
think there's a
loss.
lot going for it.
Some shit.
Germany's changing.
Uh-huh.
Southern Europe looks terrific. They've been deleveraging for 15 years. We're getting low interest rates.
And I'm
You're
gonna add it
getting
back
a
all
defense
because
fund. It's a long old list of
it was
positive
supporting.
factors,
It
cyclical
would
and
have
structural about
resistance.
Europe.
My
So,
bad.
so what Trump's done is he's woken the rest of the world up to get on with growing their own economies.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, as we saw that out of Germany, you know, maybe close to $1 trillion of spending on defense and
Nigga Trump
infrastructure.
said,
So
yeah,
we'll
he
see
told
how
the
it
nigga
goes
from
out.
Israel.
Chris, thanks so
So
much
like
for
you
joining us.
had
We
like
appreciate it.
80
Chris
billion
Watt,
dollars,
the
however
CEO
much
of
they
Chief
was,
Market Strategies
however
at
much they was
Longview
playing with
Economics, joining us
with a
live
different
here in our,
country or some shit.
Bloomberg Interactive Brokers
That nigga
studio. The
Trump
markets
is- that
remain
nigga Trump is crazy.
significantly higher today. S&P 500
Yeah,
is up
dangerous,
195 points. That's 3.8%. The Dow, John Farrow, Dow up 1,400 points, 3.7%, and Nasdaq's up 670
Need to get
points.
under
That's
this on
4.3%. We do have a balancing
Microsoft
yields.
product
10-year Treasury yields
3.2.
up about 5 basis points,
Thanks for the Sonic
4.23%. Alex Steele, WTI crude oil up a little bit here, just about $61.40 a barrel.
Basically getting me to get the direction of where we want.
Great.
We did really well today, though.
Damn, I need to pick my
Across the
damn
board.
hair. Golly.
Nice sitting on the top is just done happening.
And I did go back, you feel me? I watch my videos, you feel me? That's why I make them, right? Just like listening to myself, like, I just gotta get better at just holding contracts, you feel me? What else? Not seeing a fucking line position on my chart, fucking not going to a higher time frame. You feel me? Getting too damn jolly after the win. You feel me? You gotta go on to the next trade. Follow momentum, another thing. Follow momentum. So I'm really right now. I'm looking at SPY. I hope I'm wishing SPY close back above that red candle. I thought possibly it was gonna come down to what's the name? Looking like Apple. Apple making doji. Apple. I like getting it down here, bro. Like seeing it right here, bro, and seeing it down here is two different scenes. Like you just gonna view it different. Real spill. Looking like a hammer right here. Nice hammer on Q's.
Mike, what are you doing over there? You're too quiet.
Whole time that nigga doing something else.
Because his mic's in 5 puts. If you're gonna short anywhere, it's got to be here. It's got to be the 524.
That's what I was just thinking, bro. But I ain't gonna get in based off because he said that shit. I gotta get in because I know. You feel me?
Yeah, I
Straight
mean-
like that.
I shorted a couple of times up 5,300, but the contracts really aren't moving that well.
I was doing the same thing.
But minutes zero,
Cause look, right?
15%.
Yeah.
Boom.
Which ones do you get, the 520s, or you went for?
No, a little further.
See, I wanted it to go down. It's not giving me that real conviction that it'll go down for real.
Because I think it's a big move.
Such a crazy chop here at this level. One side is gonna get crushed.
Yeah, I don't want to signal anything. I'm not at anything, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, just staying patient. I want to say
You
this
gotta be
shit.
defensive on days like today.
retest it after 5 minutes. If that candle closed above that,
Is it really?
I'll make it
really
in.
lame now?
it's showing who really in control. With this candle right here off Apple. But I'm still gonna wait. That's really.
Doing Nvidia. I'm happy I sold Nvidia now. Look at that. I mean, just doing nothing.
That's what I don't want to really. I mean, you gonna get caught in trades like that.
Yeah, Jan Apple with 90s resistance, man. I honestly kind of prefer to take Apple on a breakout tomorrow if it does happen to break out.
Stay.
The Apple with 90s are really nice.
190 resistance. Yo, don't mind my shit up there. I can't even count.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day.
I ain't even looking at my damn tab, but I don't give shit. It is what it is.
Is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And on the Bloomberg Newsroom, this Bloomberg Business Flash, that is a risk-on
What the
rally.
fuck
S&P
is-
500 up 3.8%, up 193 points right now, 52.56 on the index. The Dow Jones Industrial
I
Average
psyched out
up
for a minute.
1,414 points. NASDAQ 100 up 740 points. That is a pop right now of 4.25%. With a clock ticking
Kendrick,
for the
you heard my
Four
bill
and a
on
quarter
that?
percent.
On Spy?
If a nigga can tell me what a 4.25% is, I give him $1 trillion.
The Customs and Border Protection just updated the tariff schedule. By the way, just to remind
Oh, yeah, 190 do got
tariffs
hella
are
fucking
not
support.
paid by the exporter. They're paid by the importer when you pick that stuff
Some things
up.
are too risky though. Like that's
China,
just too risky.
interestingly enough, in the FX
To actually
market,
signal.
allowed the yuan to
If
weaken.
you have the level of
offshore
an
yuan
idea, you can
falling
probably
to
scalp
the
it.
weakest on record as the trade war escalates with China. An unmistakable.
Man, this shit, bro, this shit can't fucking be reversing, right?
And among the most actively
I don't
traded-
believe it.
Well, let's
Look at
do
this fat ass gap.
leaders.
I don't believe it. We got news at the end of the week.
Nvidia
I mean,
right now, up 7%.
It's gonna show me
Apple
if
up
my buy is wrong or not.
Microsoft
You feel me?
3.8% higher. And
This shit
best
did this.
performing
Then they
stocks
like
in
the
the
same
S&P
shit last week.
If we lose that
Shit went up a
522.40,
couple days.
I think that
Shit
should
dropped crazy, nigga.
That's
Fastest drop in history is what they say.
522.40.
If I'm not mistaken, nigga.
A 5.06% average increase in payments to Medicare Advantage plans. That's actually more than expected. So I do have an unofficial trade advisor.
Okay. That's
The
cool.
bartender across the street. So
They're still on moving.
he's
Crazy.
actually one of the owners of Bloom's Tavern. Bloom's
Wait,
Tavern.
I'm
named
tripping, my nigga.
James Joyce. So
Sprite ain't
bought
even
a
in the box.
statue of James Joyce made with a bench, and it's sitting out front
Hold on,
of
cuz.
the bar. So he went to China. That was the best price he could get, and it looks beautiful. But he was told, he was advised, when you pick it up at Port North Elizabeth,
Got
don't
22,
just
30, 37.
and then he was told it will go to auction.
37 look
You
good.
have to find an auction broker that's approved by the Port Authority. And he said, nobody's going to show up to auction on a
30.
statue of James Joyce sitting on a bench. And then you'll be able to pick it up without, just for a fraction.
That's a lot of work.
Well, I'm just saying,
Hey.
he didn't go
To
that route,
avoid like how much of tariffs at this point?
but
He
you
doesn't have
could
the
have
answer
picked
to
up a statue of James Joyce sitting on a
Look at
bench
these right there.
for a cut rate price had he not
Who
paid.
doesn't want that?
I mean, yeah, I have so
It
much
looks
room in my
so
Brooklyn apartment.
good in my front yard.
That
Anyway,
is a great
that's the
anecdote.
advice from the bartender
This is
slash
Blooms,
owner.
like right over the corner, right? Like that Blooms?
Yes,
Amazing. Okay.
Around the corner.
Excellent.
not saying I go there a lot.
No.
Shit, my zone's not zoning. Shit,
now.
trust me, I know.
JT, thanks a lot. Appreciate
I know,
that.
but anyway,
I'll
shit,
take
I
those
see it
calls.
set up.
This is
My
Bloomberg
shit,
Intelligence
yeah,
Radio.
yeah.
So guys,
Please
you
don't
get
want
it.
to give
Like how to
away
avoid paying
something
more money.
to
That's
the
at the end of the day what we're talking about. Henrietta Trace is managing
you
partner
go.
and director
Right,
of
I made a few
economic
bucks in the
policy
SPY,
at
guys.
Beta Partners. So
Yeah.
it raises actually the question, Henrietta, is what is the
Yeah, another movie.
off-ramp for tariffs at this point? Is
Sounds
it just
good, guys.
being in a discussion?
So I may catch it going back up.
Is it zero
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's
trade
about
deficit? What is it?
22% on 0 days.
Well, I'm just watching the Senate Finance Committee hearing with USTR Greer right now. and
That's not a
it's
bad
pretty
move,
clear
though,
that the
Rav,
off-ramp
on
is
those
not coming
Microsoft
anytime
contracts.
soon.
Fair enough.
The president's trade representative
But the real
is
pressure point is
explaining
this
in a
370.
lot
They
of
just
detail
need
exactly
371.
how
They
serious
can
President
lose
Trump
this
is about
contract is
addressing
pretty slow.
every single trade deficit
The
with
600 is
every
just too much
single
already.
nation, from Vietnam and Malaysia to China, and it's plainly going to take a
Come on,
while.
come on. This
You know,
ask
we
for the
had been
offers are
expecting
still level.
maybe some small scale deals on
He might get
smaller
killed.
trading
She
nations
might
in
get
the
hit
advance
up.
of tomorrow's tariffs going into effect.
In my section, we keep
But
sticks
those
for
talks are going
safety.
to take a while. They've
price
already taken a
18.5%.
while. They're stressing some things that have already happened, like
Top is
EPA
still
Coming
the
back
same.
here if you
Subscription,
try
all these shares are
to
like
play
service
me.
tax,
you just
which happened a couple
I'm
of
not
weeks ago.
around, we say
Nothing
look,
has
like,
precipitated since Liberation
I
Day.
pray to
Interesting.
God, I just
What do you guys
hope
think?
like
If we lose, we got today. I don't really see a lot of
the
buying.
switches on the back of the Glock, put on my ops.
I don't know, more or less
You might just dump to
I don't see
like
no
517
news
is
neither.
fine.
I keep titling my reports,
Ranges are too wide.
Look at the video
Yeah,
of
mine
one
is
for
not
the
going up.
look
when
at
are lawmakers going to step in and take back some of
spot.
their constitutionally
Yeah, I'm
mandated
definitely probably gonna load
You know,
some
I
right
don't think
now.
they just chop it around after that.
This
If
shit
you
208.
they hold it by 18
Republican
grand in,
Senate sponsors
they
right
do
now.
think it will be
It
fine.
might eventually
I guess
have
we went short
Yeah.
because we were talking about it.
nowhere near the sustained
Again,
pressure
Microsoft.
campaign that would
gets
require
the
that would be required for
Good job,
Congress
they
to
took it. Some people.
get 67 votes to overcome a veto hurdle from the
I don't
president.
think it just get Canada just doing what it's supposed to do.
Contract moves are not
Thursday or Friday, if
something
not
to be
before.
like.
Oh, they
These
sucked.
budget talks aren't going very well.
They keep talking about these damn contracts up, like damn.
$3 move.
Congress for
Yeah,
the
so
rest of this month and well
why
into
it's-
May.
That's the thing, like,
So,
the risk for us
based
is
on
Nigga,
that, I
oh,
guess
buddy,
I'm having a hard time
oh,
understanding
what
the
is not
off ramps
really
to certain countries like a
don't know
Malaysia
keep
or
my head in
Vietnam.
box
They
on
don't
my
necessarily
focus,
have
try
the
to
money to buy
Yeah,
the
yeah,
stuff
increase
from
it.
us
Just
versus
like,
say a
trying to
Europe.
make
Oh,
some
but
different
Is there
no,
an
we did
understanding as
say
you're
it,
watching
I'm
the
sure
WTI
the
representative
volatility
speak
or everything.
that there are tiers
And to keep 10
of
12%
different off
stocks
ramps or
on
no?
a volatility like this is what
Bro, these niggas keep talking about these tariffs from going
Yeah,
to
where's our
effect
Oscar?
tomorrow.
I was like,
Let's
the
be real.
demand and the stock is like expectations are good.
How many tariffs y'all think they really got? I think Trump really gonna put all them tariffs on everybody.
The puts actually have been more than I did on the video. It's
What,
kind of
1.5%?
crazy.
So what is
Yeah, I made like 1600
what
on
is the goal here? To
Microsoft.
get it to zero? Great. Well,
So far.
what did we just achieve? Almost nothing.
Not bad at all.
So the pain that we are seeing,
If we lose
the
370, I think you'll
manufacturing
be-
pain, I think is a real story that we're going to be watching.
Which is what I'm waiting for. Once that 370
Not
loses,
fears.
everything,
Just
everyone
been
stops out and
completely
my contracts can get a bit.
you know, we talked yesterday about Audi.
I remember like not even that long ago. I was like, nigga,
Not offloading.
26,
Basically,
2,600, nigga. Like what the fuck is 26? 2,600, nigga.
That is really going to go up the works and
Nigga
create
saying
difficult
2,600.
for any tier to be helpful to
3,300.
domestic manufacturers.
Henrietta, have we seen any recent polling about how people feel
Why
about
not? 2,600.
tariffs and
It's
stuff?
fine now.
2,600. I'm not that much. Anyway,
5300 BS. Mike was pretty perfect.
I'm just waiting for goddamn price to price. You
Yeah.
feel me? Waiting for
President Trump's supporters do.
some type of
Yeah, I
flag,
caught some. I just didn't want to signal with the
some type of pendant, some
Contracts.
type of wedge.
Or I'm sure probably some residual hangover from the Great Depression.
Yeah,
Great
you guys
Recession,
already
excuse me.
caught two trades,
And
so
the bank bailouts.
you can call it whenever.
That component, there's a difference between union
Let's see
households
if
and
this
non-union households
370
and the way
gets
they're viewing the
sold under
president's
on
actions.
Microsoft.
But most of his supporters
21%
like
yes.
the top
The
guy
percentage is a
attitude
little mess.
and are not
20
really
to 21%.
concerned about
I'm gonna
individual
keep my
preference
head in
and
the
what it
box.
means.
I'm
I
going
think
Three
this
seventy is
is
the big
something
one.
that's missed by
Don't put
Trump's
question
voters
mark
right
and all of
now
that. How did I
is that
stand
the
to
market
it?
is a leading
Hey,
indicator. The market
Can't
is
keep repeating
pricing
it.
in recession now, pricing in 1.5 points.
Because the BRAP area is
away
kind of keen out
GDP
there,
growth
but
versus expectations, or
Come on,
0.6%
come on.
at least at the low end. They're going to see that ultimately play out, and that's what
Oh,
strikes
shit.
fear in the heart of
Surprised
some
about
of these
Leave Up.
members who are trying to
yeah,
push
this
back
is
against the
come on,
president
give
because
me
they
some
have to run
chaos.
for re-election next
Okay.
year. Trump doesn't, but they
All
do.
do the same from 2 days and
I
it's
think
well.
the only real
Alright, I
threshold
gotta
is you're
flip
right
my
to
what's
point
the
out
name?
the
I wanna do
approval
spot
ratings.
calls.
It's going to be slower
I got
to
put.
hit polling data than
Right.
the market reaction.
25%
But I
I
think
got
that
called.
what's been really clear for Americans for many months now is
Oh,
that
fuck,
tariffs
I
are
can't even
taxes.
tell when they
The
got
president
Anything.
can come out and say these are
stupid.
tax cuts,
Oh,
but
this
we
is
know
no
in
video.
our heart of hearts that that is what's
Wow,
true.
nice.
And the
Nice.
American voter
Cause
polling data
523.
consistently shows that this is one of the least supported areas of his agenda and that they constitute taxes.
I mean,
Let me
my
see if
question
I
was
can
going to be
get a
about the
better
Trump
feel.
put. Like, we clearly see there is no Trump put in the markets, which
I
means
mean,
the
better
Trump put has to
contract.
come in the form of his polls and approval rating. And I understand that on the margin, right, if you poll specifically on tariffs, there's less support in his economic plan. But overall, his support ratings are still off the charts.
Yep, and I get asked now less about
mean,
the
the high of the day,
investors
which is
internalize that he's not gonna be swinging
225.
here, and now I'm asked often about a
They want
congressional
200
put.
for it.
So if you don't mind me weighing in on that, I think it's
So I was
interesting
spending-
to recall I was there during
Instead of
TARP
spending
and the
280,
auto
I just
bailout.
spent
What we don't
200.
want to see.
As
Them
staff
holding
for
the
how
values
long it takes
flush.
for these members to move away from their
I'm
prior
gonna try to catch it at that
position. And it's not
that one
stock market
that
for us. We're looking at a
51906
700 plus point
level.
decline in the market on the day that we
But the
took
like
the
price
top
don't want to
off.
go there.
It's 3 consecutive weeks
I'm
of
just
real
go ahead and
pain
tap it, load
that
it.
get them to move away from their priors. So I would encourage you
I
to
do
not
Kendrick,
think
yeah,
about it
but
as
I would
the
definitely take
S&P
some
has
profit off
declined,
into this
you know,
VWAP
anywhere between 1% and 3%
and then use that
or
522.50. If
whatever
you
on a
honestly,
period that we've
I
already
think
had. It's the duration.
that
So today's moves,
if we do
today's
lose
bounce is
VWAP
actually
today,
materially harmful for
521,
many
we see
directional
517.
flipping
If we lose
machines
517,
because
518, I
they're
think
going
we
to say,
just
oh,
kind of
look, the
free
market's
fall.
correcting.
Right.
They've reached the
The
bottom, they're
510.
moving up, and they will dismiss
That would be a
and
pretty
it's
like
really a
big
time
FU to
horizon
bulls.
as opposed
Imagine all the
to
bulls that
specific
bought the gap up
analysis.
today, right?
No,
Think how
but
they think.
Joining us, really appreciate it. Henrietta Trey's managing partner.
You do have to think like the market.
If we lose that opening
Really
print
has
today,
her finger on the pulse.
And before
I
he
would
said
be
that, I
surprised if
was
it's
gonna
not
say
510.
like,
Relates to
Volatility is crazy. I mean, honestly, even if we
coming
see
up markets
510, it's still not like.
I was gonna say like, I'm just gonna wait for like a break under. If it was if that's what it looked like it was gonna do, I was gonna wait for like a break under or some type of confirmation to go with this. You feel me? This shit is on my paper. For real.
27% there is on that. Is that it? Oh, but still can holding that.
Yeah, we said it. Before the videos, it still looks good. I have no bias today. I kind of just was happy trading levels and see what we can get.
It's the same mindset. I just wanted to catch. I honestly caught a little bit of Netflix short also. But this is the only kind of thing I want to do. If it works, it becomes a crazy, very crazy. But otherwise, cash flow. Come on.
Hey, look at Apple ripped it down. But it's like this no like volatility, like it's like some just a slow day, you feel me? I'm pretty sure the price gonna move crazy.
Is it
coming
like this
these
tomorrow?
next couple
Not
days.
sure.
Would there be rep on Apple?
I think probably yes. But we're looking for trades. I see.
Spot calls back.
I see like if Nvidia loses that 104 now,
spot calls at a 1.6 average.
I think there could be some more.
This could be a nice
pressure
time to
for
buy.
bulls. I mean, obviously, right? But that's a good benchmark for today. Watch that Nvidia 104 chart. If it's above 104 or below 104.
Damn, look at Apple.
If I was picking up your phone, come on, down. Down.
What setup do I see on Apple? Just
Oh, fucking lose that shit.
the first little what's the name? Hey, y'all text me talking about look like put. Man, for real, I can't cap. Wait, did I say calls? Yeah, I got calls. Only reason I got calls because I believe it's gonna reverse off this level. Maybe come right above VWAP or so. But looking at momentum, like,
See that, bro.
you have to follow momentum. I
Crazy,
say go with the
right?
momentum. I say go put. Look at Apple.
I just want to again.
The video got a break under that.
You're listening to Bloomberg
So 518
Intelligence
next
with
level
Alex
now.
Steele and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg.
That's a danger zone.
Radio.
All right, Alex Steele, Paul Sweeney, live here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio, streaming live on YouTube
104
as
on the
well.
video,
So
too. Tap in here.
Search Bloomberg Podcast Live. Let's
Hold
talk a
it.
little healthcare here. One of the biggest trends really over the past couple
I
years.
could
has
see if we
been
flow and
weight
moving.
loss, drugs, and
Just like that. That's the thing. When no one wants to be, once the chaos starts, no
Sam
one
Fazeli joins us here, Director of Research.
That's what I'm thinking. Honestly, if we do lose that 518 today, I think we just see like a no bid type day till 510,
President Trump and the
which is not that
administration
far really.
has
But
rejected obesity
most
drug
recent
coverage.
risk
What's
is
going on there?
like maybe they can get 500 or 510 for 88 now.
Yes, hi Paul. Of course, what happened is that this has been something that was put together in the
Spooky.
Why do you need
Only
to
run out of
use
Microsoft guys.
Right when I
Be
say no
careful
fucking
for
volatility,
these
You
no
know,
obese
all my
folks.
trades
volatility.
up
Remember
to
that if there are
Afterwards,
folks that are over
previous
go
65
crazy.
two red candles ago.
and more
It's
likely
gonna
to
go,
be
now.
overweight,
Otherwise,
not
it's
necessarily, right? But more likely to be overweight,
can't
more likely to
control
have
price
issues
movement.
to do with
So
overweight.
I'll trade for
So it's a very important group of individuals to have these products available for. But I think there is a general sense, and I think we had expected this, so this is not an unexpected outcome, that the secretary of the HHS, Human
Names are failing
Health
now.
Services in the US, is not
Yeah,
necessarily a
four.
fan
That's the
of.
reject.
And I'm still on 4, so I can't see
However,
no more than
there's
4
a little
regular
aspect here
anyway.
that's important. These drugs are also covered by Medicare for those who suffer from sleep apnea
You saw China
and
to
cardiovascular morbidities.
I don't want to say.
Those indications and that usage has not been withdrawn. It's just the use for obesity
Oh,
has
there it
been
goes.
withdrawn. Or at
Contracts
least
are moving
is
now.
not being proposed.
Around 120 a piece.
So what? I mean, can that?
Yeah,
be,
they
that
actually
doesn't
started
make any
moving.
sense. And
52%
the
bigger.
whole point of these drugs is to help obesity.
31.
How are they going to keep
Come
that
on.
distinction?
Yeah, but
Between
Alex,
468,
not that I'd like to
468.
necessarily agree with the kind of decisions that are being made or disagree with them. If you think about it, if everybody who has a comorbidity, for example, cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, sleep apnea, and the only people who are not going to be able to get it are people who are just overweight, nothing else. That's a little bit easier to swallow than if they said, okay, we're just going to ban it. Because those elements of protecting patients, that is important for health.
See,
Now,
boom.
if these
Entry
other
right
obese
here.
people end
Where I
up,
did be back up.
the ones that are now not being included, just
Let's see if
obese
volume picks up.
and no comorbidities, having one of these issues, they would be
If
included.
volume starts to pick up, then
So,
I'll definitely
I
know
think
for
the
sure
issue
we're
here
going to see a
is
new low.
some folks believe that all of these things should be solved by eating better. Of course, we all want to do that, and not eating too much, etc.,
No, for sure he listens to live, man.
Fuck, I'm mad because I can't see what type of like where like I'm trying to predict. Trying to predict what fucking what's the name is this, bro? You see him on all of them, bro. That's what make me mad because nigga, I'm supposed to know. I know it's a hump, bro. That's all the rest. Like that's all.
Is that just
I may just have to wait for
Pretty
another,
good.
obesity play
another
unwinding?
candle,
Yeah, I
man.
mean, I made some money from them.
A few more candles.
That was
You
really
would
good. That was
think
really
yourself,
nice.
but why would it for this name?
Guys, I'm taking some off here.
We've always
37%
believed
moving my
that
stocks
Lilly
to
obviously has
372
a
now.
lot more going
I'm running
on.
size.
We all know that Lilly
Damn.
is particularly driven with the obesity aspect. We also know that the obesity drug from Lilly, Zepbound, has outperformed Novo Nordisk's Wegovy. We also know that Novo Nordisk is based in Denmark, and there's this fight going on between, or at least heated conversations going on between the U.S. administration and the
This is where things can get really
Danish
slippery now.
authorities.
Under
So I think
518.
you can pile all
518
these
is a
things
big
on
level
top of
now,
each other and
intraday.
worry about Novo more than you would about Lilly.
All right, fair enough.
And volume is
what
picking
about
up
the
now,
rest of
too.
the
It's
center?
great
What
disrespect
are
to that
some
shit.
themes
What
that
is
are on
it?
your
What we
mind?
wanted. Momentum to
Yeah,
pick
so
up.
vaccines continue to be a theme on
It's
our
like, bro, I
mind.
can get in, bro.
And
It's
the,
it's too late, my
Huh?
nigga. It's too late.
Let's
there's
check it out.
always
Look at the what's
words
the
that
name
that
contract.
are spoken
Nigga,
or statements
they
that are
at one.
written
We're entering a new
One,
valley
two.
to
candle.
suggest that vaccines are a good thing. MMR
Fuck
is a
no,
good way of
baby.
stopping measles, but they don't say you got to go out there and get it. That's what's missing. On the other hand,
This is
we
the
also have
danger
an issue
zone,
with
pretty much,
regards to
518.
the what I feel like is a I don't want to call it an attack, but
Yeah, I think it's gonna
roll.
like for because plants are in pressure now.
That shit rolling. I need to
But I don't
retest,
think
bro.
it's
For me to get in.
how much
I need to
can
retest. I need my pattern. I need to really see my pattern for me to get in.
Any reasonable bull would set will stop 518.
Maybe
Yeah.
smallpox, but I think if
Yeah,
you
I
think
probably
about
won't
it,
get filled
measles
to like the
didn't
next
have
20,
any
30
deaths
minutes.
I agree.
As soon as you let your guard
Totally
down a
agree.
little bit, it all explodes. So
I can
that
really pull the
is-
market
I
down.
am
Apple
worried
Watch
about
is
that because I love the United States. I love coming there, and that is something that clearly is a worrisome aspect.
Big flip side is
Is
there.
it shared
Put these
to
candles.
any extent
Next
in
candle.
Europe, Sam?
In my section, we keep
I mean,
sticks
because,
for safety.
vaccine hesitancy isn't a specific U.S. issue.
Mhm.
The thing is that what you don't want is that hesitancy to
If
be
you try to
fed
play me.
from top healthcare officials. Over here, we have that hesitancy. Don't forget, the person who put together the MMR study for
Yeah, Apple 190
and-
put. Big
and,
Poppy, nice job, man.
the
Good
discovered
trade off
MMR
that Apple.
study and autism link is a
Really
UK
good trade.
individual. But that's been discredited.
That's a good
UK,
like switch in bias, being able to be
and
along
health
out the
services
open and
have
understanding
continued to
that
push
where
that
it
this is
supplies
the best way
telling.
to get folks protected.
Like I didn't really make much
it's
today,
not,
but
hesitancy is not just
being
in
able to
US.
switch from
It's
one to
everywhere.
short is
What
pretty
you need
nice.
is health officials to be pushing it.
Right. All right, Sam, thank you so much. Appreciate it as always. Sam Fazeli, he's the Director of Research for Global Industries and Senior Pharma Analyst over there in London, Queen Victoria Street for Bloomberg Intelligence. Always appreciate getting a few minutes of his time. Still holding on to some of these gains here. You know, a little bit off the highs of the intraday, but still a strong day in the markets here.
Yep, you know it. All right, for our listeners in the U.S., here's a reminder.
This
you can
look like
listen to us via satellite radio on Sirius XM, channel 121. Access the world's only
Give us
global
one
audio
page of
business
candle
network,
to
coast to coast, 24
200
hours a
more.
day. Bloomberg Radio on
Independent
Sirius
or
XM, channel
flag.
121 is presented by Oracle. Stay tuned for the latest market news and industry research.
Oh, green
The
now.
next
Independent.
hour of Bloomberg Intelligence starts right now.
I had caught one of these, the wrong one yesterday. I don't give a fuck. Y'all gonna see me get better. But anyway, I'm just waiting for this shit to kind of like go back up, create another leg up or something, like some type of move, so I can like
This is
go
Bloomberg
down with this
Intelligence
shit.
with
You
Alex
feel me?
Steele and Paul Sweeney.
The real
Yeah, it's like
outperformance
a
has been
pendant.
U.S. corporate high yield.
Are the companies lean enough? Have they trimmed all the fat?
The semiconductor business is a
the
really
fuck, man?
cyclical business.
Breaking market headlines.
Entry right here. Boom.
Do
Stop.
investors like the M&A that we've seen?
That shit would've got
Big time blue
hit
chip
a little bit.
companies.
The window
So
between the
we ain't
peak
even
and
gonna cherry
trough
pick.
changing super fast.
But y'all niggas
Bloomberg
get what I'm trying to do.
Intelligence with Alex Steele and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. We made it to the second day of the week. I'm Alex Steele alongside Paul Sweeney. This is Bloomberg Intelligence Radio. We got you covered on all angles right now on the equity rally that we're seeing. Michael McKee, Bloomberg International Economics and Policy Correspondent, coming up in just a moment. On small business optimism, NFIB, not great. We'll discuss.
$400.
Nancy
God
Dawood is
damn.
private wealth advisors at Ameriprise
This is spot,
Financial.
yeah.
Get her
This is
outlook
the
on the
spot where they
markets.
give
Anna
and give
Rakhmana,
and hope,
Bloomberg
double
Intelligence
bottom it.
Technology Analyst. The latest
plus
on
290.
Apple and the historic sell-off
Spectrum
that
again,
we've
guys.
seen in
Spectrum,
that
spectrum.
stock. And then Putnam Goyle will join us from Bloomberg Intelligence to kind of walk us through
So,
the apparel
still
sector.
a good
There's a
spy.
really
Those are the
interesting
free
note
market
about
area.
H&M having raised their prices by a crazy amount
Really?
in order
Okay.
to sort of
That's
survive all of this. So we'll
65,
break into that. But let's kick it all off with a Bloomberg Business Flash. And for that, we go to Charlie Pellet.
Hi, thank you very much. And here's what's going on this Tuesday morning.
In my session, we
Hard
get
stop
there,
to
but hey,
like 11:10, 11:15.
On the Dow Jones.
We can call it a day. I don't think I'm going to take
Call
another.
it rebound Tuesday.
It's gonna
The
be
S&P,
hot.
though, well off
372
session highs right
stop
now.
of next.
The S&P is
I'm gonna hold
up
runners as long as
143. That is a gain of 2.8%. The Dow, by the way,
already did like 40%.
see, okay, it was just at 4, now it's at 3.8 average.
today.
14. That has an
You guys tomorrow.
I
You guys.
want to see it break above it,
Tuesday.
and then just probably come
small
back
cap
down.
shares is gaining now by
Look like it's failing.
1.9%. The 10-year 4.20% with the 2-year 3.80%. Gold up $23 the ounce, back above 3,000 now, up 0.8% to 3,007. West Texas Intermediate crude 60.97 a barrel, up 0.4%. And Bitcoin lower now by 0.3%, 78,714. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says there is potential for advantageous trade deals with major American trading partners as overseas nations appeal to Washington for negotiations in the wake of President Trump's steep reciprocal tariffs. In an interview with CNBC, Bessent also said China made a big mistake retaliating against the U.S.
We are the deficit country.
15.
So what do we lose by the Chinese raising tariffs on us?
I necessarily can't do that.
We export 1/5 to them of what they export to us. So that is a losing hand for them.
Still not gonna try to get emotional even looking at this shit. I want this shit to go up. My nigga.
Levi
Gotta get a
Strauss
better feel.
maintaining a full-year outlook
I want
that
that shit to
excludes
not
the
even
impact
quit. I
from
want that shit to
sweeping
go up.
U.S. tariffs that are poised to hike the
Yeah,
costs
little-
of
little-
living
little more
around
push.
the world. Stay with
Little more
Bloomberg
push,
for the
my baby.
latest on tariffs and
For
market
real.
reaction. Again, Levi Strauss down 2.1%. We've got the S&P off session highs, holding on to a gain of 2.8%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie Powell, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Alex Steele, Paul Sweeney, live here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio, streaming live on YouTube. Head over to youtube.com and search Bloomberg Podcast live. As Charlie was just reporting, a very positive day in the marketplace today. Let's look under the hood and see where things are going at the stock level. We do that with Bloomberg's cross-asset reporter Emily Griffeo. She joins us here in studio. Emily, what are you looking for?
So one of the best performing sectors today in the S&P 500 is the
two-stroke
Managed Health
nigga.
Index.
Okay.
And this is all
Oh, it's at
coming
3.6
after
right now.
the U.S. government increased 2026 payments for Medicare Advantage plans. So I'm specifically looking at United Health. It had the highest intraday jump since 2020. It was up 11.5%. It's pared back a little bit. And then also Humana hit its highest level since February.
$35 to $50
The word, at least from
discount,
Wall Street, is that the new rate on these plans exceeded even the most optimistic expectations. That's what Piper Sandler said. Just to go into a little bit more detail, the Medicare Advantage plans will see payments increase by an average of 5.06%, which is more than double the rate that the government proposed in January.
Can you just close above one more time and then come back down?
At least $25 billion more next year than current rates. So any insurers are up, and specifically United Health and Humana, two of the largest, are really rallying today.
And it also shows, like I've been saying, it doesn't take a lot to get a rally, right? When you have such oversold conditions. What else are you looking at?
So CVS Health, another potentially riding on the strength of the optimism in the healthcare space today. Those shares are up as much as 12%. But in addition to the Medicare news, the company said that it expects financial results to meet or exceed previously issued guidance. They also named a new CFO, and sometimes management switch-ups
can be helpful.
Sometimes they can be not helpful for the stock, but today it's green on the screen. Evercore ISI said, we see investors unlikely to be overly worried about the additional management changes. Former UPS executive Brian Newman will exceed the current CFO. And that goes effective April 21st. And again, right now, it doesn't take much to see a rally in these shares.
Anything else?
That is all I have.
That is all we've got. Awesome. For more conversations like this, listen to our Stock Movers podcast. Subscribe for 5-minute episodes on the biggest winners and losers in the stock market. Listen to Stock Movers on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcast. Does this rally surprise you at all, Alex?
No. And I say that because Julian Emmanuel of Evercore ISI was on TV with me and Romain Bostic on Friday, and he said you're gonna have a gap down on Monday, and then by Tuesday.
I wonder should I got feel when I seen 3.5.
But it doesn't mean that you're out of the woods. The question is how long does it actually last for? How long is the bounce actually last?
That was 10%.
We had some economic information data come out today. U.S. small business optimism declines by the most since mid.
I need to just to go back up.
He joins us, international economics and policy correspondent. He's down there in Washington D.C. Why I don't know, but he chose to. Michael, what did you make of this the small business optimism data? Is it something? Is it one data point? Let's not pin too much on it, or is it have some?
I just couldn't get. I could have got feel, but it wasn't. I couldn't tell you.
People surveyed by the National Federation of Independent Business
I can
tend
get
to skew
feel.
very Republican.
This shit closed. If it closed below, I definitely couldn't get
the
feel.
confidence index went way
Get
up.
feel,
It's been
puts out
ratcheting
there.
down ever since. And this sort of tells you that small business owners are seeing the same
like
headlines that everybody else is, and confidence is falling off.
Buy the contract low, sell them high.
We'll all have to pay more money for tariffs. We've seen the same thing in the Michigan and Conference Board and CEO surveys that have been out recently. What's interesting in this is in the sub-indexes, the number of people who are thinking about making capital expenditures and the number of people who are thinking about hiring drop. And the people who think that the economy is going to be better 6 months down the road dropped significantly. So they're reflecting the same sort of fears about what might happen because of the trade war that other people are.
So, and also this is so interesting, Mike, because it like sets the base, right, for when you actually do have a tariff impact. Was there any read on like how small businesses can manage that kind of pricing and that inventory?
No, not in this particular survey,
It's
but
probably looking like the one to get in right now.
experts say that
Damn, this shit.
are going to have a much bigger problem because obviously they can't carry the kind of inventory. They can't stock up ahead of time in the same way that big corporations can. And it's harder for them to
I ain't gonna
raise
get the feel that I
prices
want,
because they're already,
I guess,
by the
but I
nature
have
of
to
their
get the feel
business,
that I want,
charging
for real.
in general a little
You
more
feel me?
than the major retailers. So
I was supposed to get in. I knew that. I just wanted to go back up just to see, but
What's
this
the
thing got
Fed's
with
role
it.
here? How do you think they're looking at all this data here, Mike, and maybe some of the
So I ain't
market
worried about it.
gyrations over the last
I know I
several
could make
days?
a little 10%.
Well, they're looking at bid-ask spreads when you
3.5,
talk about
4,
looking at market
4.5.
monitors, because if the spreads are tight enough, it means that people are buying and selling okay, and there's not a problem. They would only get involved in the markets if there was some sort of systemic disturbance. As far as the drop-in markets, they don't really care. It's not their job to worry about whether you make money or lose money in the stock markets. What they will follow, what they will be watching is if you do see big drops in the wealth effect from the stock market, or people cutting back for other reasons because they're paying more for the things at the grocery store, those will rebound into the economy, and that will be something that the Fed has to deal with. But the question at this point, as we've been saying,
I wonder if I should just wait till it come back to that 103 level.
Is it going to be both?
Because it's going to go down.
I mean, it really feels like from what the Fed officials have been saying that inflation is still their biggest worry. They acknowledge the downside potential for growth, but that the inflationary scenario is really what's stressing them out.
Inflation is always everywhere in the Fed's prime focus, shall we say. And we know that tariffs are going to bring prices up. The question is, does it bring them up more than just one time? Do they keep going up? Whereas with growth, you do have a ratcheting down. It won't fall off a cliff immediately.
It went up there and never closed up there.
The one exception to that rule. And so they would have some time, more time to react. And also, they haven't seen the signs yet in growth of a problem. They haven't seen any problem with the labor market. So
if it make it like some type of scroll back up, I'm gonna get into it.
To be the first canary.
No, it's the wrong damn contract.
And on that front, Mike, we're going to get some CPI and PPI data later this week. Still too early, presumably, to see any upward pressures.
I forgot what puss I had. I'm gonna do
pretty much so, Paul. We might in the PPI because we had a lot of imports of industrial materials for factories and producers in December and January in particular, and it is possible that some of the people overseas took advantage of that and raised prices. But it's too early to really see it in the consumer numbers because we haven't had the imposed on them.
Damn, I can get in right now, though, bro.
Why are you in DC? Which leads me to
the
FOMC minutes tomorrow.
I'm getting in.
We'll talk tomorrow too, but what are
only
people
got one
most
contract.
excited about learning in the minutes?
1.7 average.
Oh, people always want to know what the Fed's view on inflation is going to be, and particularly after this meeting, how they put together their views on what we were going to see in terms of the economy going down the road, the summary of economic projections, the dot plot. Most Fed officials that I've spoken to since then say we didn't put a lot into this because we didn't have any visibility.
Well, I could have called it at the top, bro.
Planning,
which I was planning on doing.
It may be that this information is pretty stale, particularly since it comes out on the same day that the president is in theory imposing all of these tariffs.
And Friday, I don't know, we get the University of Michigan data here. This really got my attention like a month ago when it really started to show that people maybe were concerned in terms of the current sentiment and also some, meaningful moves in inflation expectations.
Thank you very much, Michael McKee,
on to the next trade.
economics and policy correspondent, joining us on all things economics. We're looking at the NFIB, also looking ahead tomorrow to the minutes as well as CPI.
Probably took 5-10.
Okay, now we're going to head to David Weston, a Bloomberg television anchor for Wall Street Week. He's speaking with former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers. They'll be speaking in-depth interview on the trade policies out of the Trump administration.
Our Bloomberg audience is worldwide. I'm David Weston, and I'm joined now by the former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers of Harvard. Larry, thank you for being back with us. When we talked just a week ago on Wednesday, the day of the announcement of the tariffs, there was a lot yet to be determined. The markets have been through a amount of volatility since then. 3,000 days, they're sharply up today. You've been quite explicitly critical of what President Trump has announced here. Do you feel better today because the markets are coming back?
Sure, I feel better anytime instability seems to be calming.
I just said to myself,
be not confused. There's only one
what
reason why
instability
is being reduced, and that is there's a growing
hope
in markets
Feel me?
that
If I see, I know.
policies are going to prove transitory and reversible. This does not reflect any kind of market endorsement of the approach that the president has followed. Rather, it reflects a judgment that the president might recognize the reality that markets are telling him about.
Entry at this right here.
Many of his advisors are telling him about, that corporate CEOs across the country are articulating that this kind of wholesale tariff
that just show y'all niggas, bro. I wasn't saying that shit last week, nigga, 2 weeks ago. For real.
We're seeing some signs
look at
that the administration may recognize that.
We're seeing signs, but do we have a better sense of the goals in the process today than we got from the Rose Garden last Wednesday?
So I think this is fundamentally a improvisational effort. You could tell that when you
I do it for another
there was
pullback
a policy
up or
based on
something,
tariff
bro.
reciprocity that didn't use
Can
any
get in.
data
I mean,
on
yeah,
the
he can get in
tariffs of
because
other
shit went
countries
down, but
in figuring out how to
yeah,
reciprocate. You could tell that from the blatant contradictions between what Presidential Advisor Navarro was saying and Presidential Advisor Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was saying. You could tell that from the degree of division
so whoever
between
today,
close outside advisor Elon Musk and many members of the president's economic team. This is a policy, it's a hugely consequential policy, but by all appearances, it's being improvised on a daily basis.
So definitely trying to take probably like one or two more trades. I'm done. Yesterday I did take a trade off some stupid shit. Let me tell y'all what I did too, cause I had to write this shit down. It was a winning lesson. You feel me? Just got in after saying that. I mean, just got in on the field after saying not going to trade no more, but seeing the bull pendant that I could. Damn. Oh, that I could catch a little move. Never went size crazy, but I can see that.
How bad could it get?
I took 7% on that shit last night. Well, I think it was probably like 1 or 2 o'clock. I don't know why I did that. I just thought I was that nigga, I guess. But I ain't gonna do that shit no more. Cause that shit could cost me a lot. Which it did. I think it was down like 20 something %, I swear. And then that shit went back up. That shit went to 7. I was like, bro, why am I in this shit? Like, it's always good to stay on the sidelines. You ain't never gotta always get in trading, bro. You feel me? You ain't never always gotta get in the trade. You feel me?
Significantly below
but I just seen that bull pendant, bro. Like I don't know what it was, bro. I'm like, my nigga, this shit broke, and it was on SPY. I can go to it. It was like right around here.
The budget deficit will go up. The accumulated
I want to say I forgot what's the name.
There'll be financial distress that will affect higher risk companies and also higher risk countries in
I don't know.
global economy.
It was somewhere around here.
David,
I even forgot what kind of contract it was or put or called.
This moment of
Damn, I don't even remember. I don't remember. But yeah, I'll definitely won't be doing no shit like that again.
Iatrogenic recession. Our first.
I'm tripping, like I just tried to change. I'm thinking this shit on the.
Is when you go into the hospital and you catch an infection there. It's when the people whose job it is to make things better are the active agents of making things
See, it's going back up, which I like.
Iatrogenic illness, staph infections, and the like in hospitals is a major preoccupation for doctors. This is an iatrogenic economic challenge. There is nothing in the outside world that is causing this challenge. It is induced by the words and deeds of President Trump and his administration. The good news about that is it could be resolved with words and deeds of
Rose Gold ain't eating on my tea, but I get any. They eat me like cake. As long as that nigga gonna run from that dumb to the nigga, you know that shit fake. Ain't rocking no S. I ain't rocking no more than that nigga. Go throw this shit late. They shouldn't end. I get
As
paid.
long as a hospital maintains unsanitary conditions, its patients get infections when they enter, and as long as these policies are being pursued, we're going to see substantial volatility in markets, substantial recession risk, substantial damage to middle-class families.
So just to follow
Yeah, I gonna be hearing me saying this shit a lot. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's up to 5 minutes. What is it doing on 15?
Back off what you just described as policy.
Cone
Is there
head.
anybody else who can save us?
Look, depending on what happens with other countries and how they handle their diplomacy, it may be easier or harder.
But I can't lie. I think I'm not talking about
these
anyway.
policies, depending upon how
Good thing I did wait, even though I could have got filled right here. Water price did go up there, and then came back down. You feel me? So it's always good to wait. Got in off the 8. I just had to. You feel me?
These policies, but there's nothing complicated about this. You impose huge tax increases on households in a uncertainty creating.
That pendant in the flag. The flag look a little different than the pendant.
Patterns, and the economy turns downwards. There's nothing subtle or sophisticated about this. This is introductory economics. It's the kind
Bull
of
flag got stronger moves. Pendant has a little weak move in the middle. So the pendant will go like this.
A massive tariff tax increase.
And then they probably like break out on some shit. That's a pendant. But a bull flag will do something like this.
And any B student will know that the answer to that is that it's a supply shock that raises prices and raises unemployment
Come down just a little
well,
bit, just a tad, just a smidge. Which I see like, and then this would be the flag, long ass flag.
This isn't some
and
sophisticated,
then
complicated thing to analyze.
Larry, thank you so much for being back with us. Really appreciate it. That is former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers of Harvard.
Bull
That was
flag.
Bloomberg Television's David Weston speaking with former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers about the tariff policies coming from this Trump White House. Markets still higher, although off the highs today. Let's get a check-in. Charlie Peller right now with the Bloomberg Business Flash.
Thank you very much, Paul Sweeney. Let me quantify that in terms of percentages. Absolutely.
I honestly want to go back down. Fuck.
Highs have been up as much as 4% right now. Looking at
Damn, yo, this shit dead going back down. This, bro, you mean to tell me y'all niggas gapped up to go back down? Nah, let me stop now, for real though.
Industrials up 771. That is a gain of 2%. The Nasdaq Composite Index up 386, up 200.
Looking like, damn, I want to jump like that. I want to jump like this.
S&P up 2.1%, have been up by 4%. Today's bounce, though, does bring relief to investors rattled by intense swings following a sell-off that chopped trillions of dollars off of global markets last year. S&P higher, the Dow, Nasdaq also advancing. Russell 2000 up 1.2%. 10-year 4.19%.
600. She shitting me.
Gold up 24.
I ain't gonna lie, that showed you that nigga. I could've hit it.
West Texas Intermediate crude has reversed course. It is now lower by 0.3%, 60.49 a barrel, and Bitcoin now down 0.8%, 78,200.
And that's 510. They want 6.6 average.
We're well off session highs, but still a gain of 2.1% on the S&P.
6.8
I'm
average.
Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, thanks so much, Charlie Pellet. Alex Steele here alongside Paul Sweeney. This is Bloomberg Intelligence
Let me see
Radio.
if I
We
can
got
take
you
the video
covered
off this
on
baby.
all the bases, internal and external sourcing. All right, we got a pretty fierce rally underway here. My question is, does it actually last? Nancy Dowd is private wealth advisor at Ameriprise Financial, and she joins us now, also CEO of Opus Advice First. Nancy, I appreciate that you're going to be a long-term investor on this, but just with our decades of experience here, when we take a look at a market move like this, after oversold conditions, does this bounce last for a while?
Well, it's hard to predict, obviously, but I do expect a great deal of turbulence. I mean, there's no doubt that this was somewhat expected, maybe not to the degree that it occurred. You know, the first quarter was like feast and famine. You know, the first half of the first quarter was phenomenal, and then the second half just took it all back. So the Magnificent Seven stocks that had propelled the market prior are the same stocks that dragged it down. However, like you said, longer term, I still feel that we should be bullish, and in these turbulent times, although it was much more severe than expected, we should really look at this as much more of an opportunity, because up times last a lot longer than down times, and we just lose sight of that when things are so scary like they happened in the last few days.
So how does one reposition, Nancy, if at all? Do you just kind of stay the course with your portfolio allocation? Do you try to maybe buy some things that were now more attractive? How have you kind of altered your view, if at all?
Well, clearly, staying the course or time in the market has always been trying to time the market, because we have no idea if we've hit bottom or not. And if so, you know, how do you time that? There's no way to do that. However, if you do have longer term goals and some excess cash that is available that you are willing to invest in the longer term, there's such an opportunity. I mean, the sectors that have taken the biggest beatings are financials and technology. So that's certainly an opportunity. And we know that ultimately those things will come back. Just don't know when. But I think the biggest message is that in the near term, there will be significant volatility.
That's to be sure. The idea, though, that we go back to what we knew before, is this time different? I mean, is the U.S. exceptionalism, the rush into U.S. assets we've seen over the last decade, what's your level of conviction that that still holds?
You know, I can't claim to be an expert on politics or economic policy, but I do know that, having been around a very long time, is that history keeps repeating itself with the markets. You know, the underlying variables may be very different each time, but ultimately the math rules, because that's how markets work. And so we may have a lot of emotion due to more information and a lot of propaganda, both, you know, positive and negative, coming at us.
Rose going ain't eating my tea.
Things level out and revert to the mean, because the math will always rule in the end. And that's what, when you're buying a stock in the market, you're buying the balance sheet of that company. So corporate earnings are important.
Damn, bro, this shit need to make a move back up into this level, so I can short it off this level, or probably just buy off this level.
Now, can tariffs have
in
a negative
price,
impact?
and they got the cons still for the same price.
Nancy, how does fixed income work into your outlook these
They
days?
funny as hell.
Well, if you've gotten into fixed income in the last few months, you're feeling
Pluto
pretty good,
Kaya,
because
boy,
that has been
phone.
a very big stabilizer in the last few
Bitch, I'm rich, you
months
can't get
with all
up.
the turbulence. And I think fixed income prospects look pretty good. Just watch the duration and go for investment grade. But it's very likely that the Fed will cut rates again. We just don't know when and how much, but probably at least a couple of times this year. And I think it's certainly an opportunity with stabilization and diversification of a portfolio at this time.
Nancy, thank you so much for joining us.
I really want to
Appreciate
short
you giving a few
QQQ.
minutes of your time. Nancy Daoud, Private Wealth Advisor, Ameriprise Financial, joining us from Miami, Florida via Zoom here. One of the names that's been really bouncing back a little bit here today is Apple, up 1.5%. We've seen some stories of people rushing out to get their Apple iPhones literally today before tariffs may take place. And the question that calls into question, kind of just talk about the longer term story there with Apple. Let's do that with Anurag Rana. He's Senior Technology Analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence. Anurag, what's your feeling about tariffs and a big consumer-facing technology company like Apple?
Yeah, I mean, this is the one company in our
I'm
space.
gonna buy
the
this for
coverage
200.
that
I'm gonna
is
do kind of out the money. I'm gonna do
absolutely impacted by
436.
all of what's happening. And frankly speaking, this rushing to get the phones right now is not going to save them if these guys don't figure out a way to, either get an exemption from President Trump or the U.S.-China, trade deal, becomes more closer to each other.
I mean, in some ways, Apple and Nike remind me of each other in that they did diversify away from China, and yet those countries they diversified, and maybe Apple didn't do as much as Nike, still wind up getting hit. What would it look like if Apple had to build the stuff in the U.S.?
I swear it really
I think in the absence of robotics, it's very difficult to do that. I mean, you need a massive firepower of
if I'm to close like that.
If there's a way to take the human equation out of that particular process, yeah, it can be done anywhere, but we are not there at this point. But more importantly, frankly, think about it from Apple's point of view as well. They do want to invest more in China. They do want to invest more in India and other local countries because that's their next growth driver. I mean, they don't have that many more phones to sell in the U.S. market or the Western world for that matter. China makes up 20% of their revenue. There is no logical reason they shouldn't be, investing over there because that's where the growth is.
What have we seen estimates, earnings estimates for Apple and maybe even some of the other technology companies that come down yet?
They have come down a little bit, Paul, but on an aggregate, I think there is a long way to go before all of this really shapes up. And I think people are waiting for, perhaps a deal right now with all the different local governments respective countries to adjust those, and we'll find out on more. Remember one thing, with all of this, Apple still hasn't really, issued a big press release as to what the impact on growth rate could be. They have given some guidance for this quarter, but that seems to be okay. But when they come out and give guidance for next quarter, I really don't know how they're going to do it without understanding, how some of that margins story may play out.
I mean, they have to have
pull up, I'm starting on niggas 200. Yeah, this shit go fast. Real go ahead and my teeth, but I can't
Is the biggest issue that their costs are going to rise because the stuff that's imported from China will cost more, or is it that their sales, say, abroad will be hit?
I think it's a mix of both. For me, the second part is a very big problem because that's,
it better be my fucking money, nigga.
And if you're saying that, okay, the only way you're going to grow now is your old customer base is going to just renew your phone, that's not a very compelling argument. You were going to tell me that, okay, you go into a new country, that new country, the middle class rises, it becomes more affluent, then they're going to buy a more luxury product like Apple. That's a story that I like better than that now. As far as the products are concerned, I mean, they're already a very expensive phone. It's not these are not cheap phones, and to say that the cost could go up by 30, 40, 50%, I mean, that's a very big number, frankly. That reduces people buying those phones in the developed market as well.
So have we seen any history from Apple about their ability, their willingness to raise prices when needed?
No, I cannot remember to this extent. I mean, there has been a raising prices. Typically what they do is they give a base model with some memory and with, for the higher end model with better camera and other things, it's a more expensive product, but the margins kind of remains the same. But, it'll be very tough for them to take $1,000 phone and say that, okay, now it's going to cost $1,500, $2,000 or even more in the market.
Oh my God. I mean, I remember when the phone was under $1,000, it was like going to be over. It was like, no one's going to pay that. And you know what? They paid it. So there is that. All right, Anurag, always good to catch up. Anurag Rana, Bloomberg Intelligence, senior technology analyst, joining us on Apple. Okay, coming up, Derek Flakel is Bloomberg NEF lead U.S. policy analyst, and he's going to join us to discuss the impact of tariffs on the green transition.
Yes.
In light of the fact that we're going to get an executive order coming today at 3 p.m., which is going to try and boost coal and coal production in the U.S., green transition feels real off at that point.
Right.
So potentially we could see things like federal land being leased for a new coal plant. You could also wind up seeing coal being labeled a critical mineral, which would unlock money from D.C. to speed up production, and coal as a critical mineral is a definite head scratcher because everyone has a lot of coal. But let's decide no. Anyway, so we'll break down what that green transition winds up looking like, and a stock market that's still off the highs, but up by over 2%. This is Bloomberg.
do at this. Always keep going up. Great. Get a better feel. Just still gonna see though. I got 2 coins ready. See like what the hell, like what it is kind of what direction. Oh, no arrow candle. First gonna move up on a 15 minute. Q's making a push. Spy making a push. 517. So close in this 514 level. But let's see if it what does it do? I don't think it's gonna close above that level. Ain't gonna lie. 2 minutes on like 15. Okay, 5. If you can close above there and then another close above there, then I might know something. But right now, no such thing. Buying pressure, buying power, buying volume. You can put something out with it. Fuck around, get fired contract. For real. What does it do at this level? It has to do something at this level. So 1 more 5-minute candle. 30 seconds. Did it fail? I know it can come up, probably won't, but it has to close. It just has to close, you feel me?
Mark markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com. Bloomberg
It
Television
might be,
and the
like
Bloomberg
pause
Business
right now.
app.
I can't
This
tell.
is a Bloomberg
Looking at it.
Business Flash.
Looking at it.
It's 11:20 on Wall Street. We do check markets all day long here at Bloomberg. The Dow, the S&P,
Make sure
Nasdaq
that's
all
the
advancing
trade.
on a rebound Tuesday. And this Bloomberg Business Flash is brought to you by Commonwealth, supporting more than 2,000 independent financial advisors with a 2-to-1 advisor staff ratio. Small firm attentiveness, big advisor impact. Go to commonwealth.com to learn about their consultative support and technology. S&P right now up 134 at 51.96. That's a gain of 2.6%. S&P have been up as much as 4%. So we're off session highs, but still advancing. The Dow up 1,009 now, up by 2.7%, and a 3% advance today for Nasdaq, up 468 points. Nasdaq 100 index doing a little bit better, up 3.1%, but the Russell 2000 lagging today, up by 1.8%. 10-year 4.20%, the 2-year 3.79%. Gold up $24 the ounce, now at $3,007. That's a gain of about 0.8%. And West Texas Intermediate crude down 0.1%, 60.61 a barrel. Small business optimism is down across the U.S. And with that story, here's Bloomberg Giudice.
The Small Business Optimism Index posted the largest drop in almost 3 years in March. U.S. tariffs are clouding the outlook. Inflation and a lack of qualified workers also remain concerns. The share of small business owners anticipating better conditions over the next 6 months posted the sharpest decline since 2020. The data are compiled by the National Federation of Independent Business. Benito Giudice, Bloomberg Radio.
Eli Lilly shares higher after Goldman Sachs upgraded the obesity drug maker to buy from neutral. Lilly up now by 3.5%.
That's my
HP
pocket. What the
Enterprise
fuck?
lower after being cut to equal weight from overweight at Morgan Stanley. HPE is trading a little change right now. As a matter of fact, a reversal for Hewlett Packard Enterprise up now by 0.4%. Stocks higher, rallying the most since 2022 on trade deal hopes. S&P up 2.7%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, thanks so much, Charlie Pellet. Alex Steele here alongside Paul Sweeney. Here's a headline for you. Hackers apparently spied on 100 bank regulators' emails for over a year. Okay, so there you go. Take that. Yeah, we'll bring you any more headlines on that as it crosses. All right, let's go now to the effect of President Trump's policy on, say, green energy transition. Today at 3 o'clock, he's supposed to sign some executive orders to push forward coal production here in the U.S. Want to go to David Blackwell of Bloomberg NEF, lead U.S. policy analyst. NEF is originally known as New Energy Finance, or the team within Bloomberg that tracks and analyzes the energy transition. What do you make of this executive order coming today at 3 o'clock on coal, and what does it mean for the broader transition?
Well, the executive order is interesting because this is sort of a replay of what Trump tried to do in his first term, right? He had previously talked about increasing payments to or using powers for preserving existing coal plants and bringing old ones back online. And as we can see, the power
still going for a good
now 50% of generation in the U.S. Per year, down
like to see that flip if they failure. Make it in.
So there's a lot of different moving parts to this. You might see more, say, coal exports, more long-term gathering of coal leases, which have been sort of moving back and forth from Obama now Trump too. But in general, it's hard to say that this will be a huge boon to coal build-out and restoration, especially when you have tariffs weighing on any kind of big capital project.
All right, so talk about, the energy ecosystem. Where do we get stuff for the
I want to say 136 average.
Fossil fuels, clean energy. Where do we get the equipment? And is that something that's going to be impacted by these tariffs?
Rising with
very heavily. Even for fossil fuels, which are often a very domestically extracted resource, there's reliance on steel, aluminum, specialized equipment that's imported, which is why you saw the Dallas Fed register such negative opinions about tariffs coming in generally. More broadly, in terms of, say, solar equipment, that mostly comes from Southeast Asia because we've had batteries. We've had tariffs in China for a long time. Batteries themselves tend to come from China. Electric vehicles are imported from a variety of places, but it's very domestic with a fair amount of Canada and Mexico in there. And lastly, if you're thinking about, say, offshore wind, that's pretty dependent on Europe. The only thing that's really effectively onshore and minimally dependent on trade is onshore wind in the U.S.
What is the future of offshore wind in the U.S.? I mean, if we're talking about ramping up coal and sort of there's zero love from the administration on offshore wind, have we seen sort of, I don't know, leases or any contracts be broken, or do you feel like companies that are still committed to the longer term world of offshore wind?
Well, I mean, what the offshore wind companies will tell you is this is a multi-year, long-term process of building. It's beyond any one administration. We have seen one lease be canceled by the federal government for an ongoing project, but generally speaking, we haven't seen a lot more movement for things that have already been permitted and leased. Now, that's important because the federal government has a lot of leverage over that process. We're not seeing a lot more being added to the pipeline. But the real issue is going to come in the form of costs, inflation, and also potentially interest rates. We saw a major slowdown in offshore wind under Biden, which is a very supportive administration, simply because the cost of inputs went up, and as inflation went up, the Fed hiked rates. Wind is a very large capital-intensive project category and especially sensitive to those kinds of things. So if the tariffs lead to those broader impacts, we might see some fairly negative results for even the offshore wind projects that are already allowed to go forward.
Derek, I think even folks that are, that question the value of the economic value of tariffs in general, they kind of recognize that.
Look at this shit. Oh my God, look at Avatar look amazing off the 5 minutes. Oh my, this probably was the one to really take. Avatar looks too good.
Disrupted. That makes sense.
It just needs to close. It's a closed blow, which I'm banking on right now.
Bringing this stuff onshore as much as possible.
Prices look down there. I didn't even see that shit.
There's been a lot of discussion of that across multiple administrations. The Biden administration is in favor of that. The Trump administration is in favor of onshore manufacturing generally, and of energy security, independence, even dominance, as they like to say, generally. But that's a hard thing to achieve with tariffs alone. Ultimately, a lot of these solar factories, battery factories, EV factories that are coming up in the U.S. are dependent on imports, whether those are imports of upstream components or of the manufacturing equipment needed to make the final products, solar panels and batteries themselves. And right now, we're seeing costs go up on those across the board. Unless you have more reliable revenue streams, like tax credits, for example, it's kind of hard to imagine new decisions to build that stuff out. Even things that are already being built are facing uncertainty, not only from the Trump tariffs, from other investigations of the tariffs
right now.
Being run at the Department of Commerce and U.S. Trade Representative, but also on the fate of those tax credits, which is going to help guarantee their revenues in the long term.
Yeah, it was a great point, which leads us to the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which, I mean, clearly President Trump hates that thing, but there is a lot of value in it through the tax credits and subsidies for companies that supposedly he is a fan of, like the oil industry, for example. When do you think we're going to know the fate of the IRA and those tax credits?
I didn't see 10% yet.
That's a great question, and I've been wondering it myself. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of wrangling between the House and Senate today about the top lines on their big budget bill they're going to try and pass by the end of the year. Obviously, the end of the year is when individual tax rates go up, and so that's one of the big forcing functions. You also are seeing the X-date, debt ceiling, occurring somewhere between July and maybe September, and that's going to be a point where there's going to be a lot of pressure to pass a big budget package, raise the debt ceiling, and probably also get some of this tax material done. But we've seen a lot of deadlines blown already for
14%, 19%. Oh my, 19%.
Precondition to figure out what's going to happen with the tax credit.
I don't know where I got out of it. It was either 14 or 19%. But yeah, damn, my prices go crazy as hell. Sheesh. Sheesh. So, I ain't gonna lie, that's my 2 trades for the day. I'm not taking no more trades.
All right, a lot of folks in the marketplace are saying
no signals. I got 2 based off me.
How long can you put off a business decision with? We'll see.
That's crazy. Hold on right fast. Hold on right fast. Good bird. Feel me? I ain't trying to, you can't get too high when you win. You feel me? But on to the next trade. But I just had to step away right fast to really look at what the fuck I just did. You feel me? What I just did. What I just called. Y'all niggas can go back and look at it. I'm already gonna have the timestamp, but damn, I could have got like 30% right there. You feel me? Let me see what I sold for. That's all I know for real.
That commodity cost at the end of the day, and if it's going to be a solar company or a wind company, that's
I was really trying to hold to that 30% too. Nice, bro. Nice.
What turned the tables against offshore wind
good fucking shit, yo.
All right, coming up, Poonam Goyal, Bloomberg Intelligence on retail and tariffs. This is Bloomberg.
I don't know what I sold it. It was either. I want to say it was like 14 or 19. But anyway, I had to get better at holding. Look what Price doing right now. Look what Price doing right now. I got filled at 1.3. Contracts are now at 1.9. You feel me? Yeah, and I got two of those guys. So again, what did I see, bro? I just believed in myself. I believe this shit was not gonna go back up, even though it did have some type of doji. I still got in. I don't know. I still got in. I didn't believe it was gonna go back up and close above 519. You feel me? Price came back down. It did its thing. I believe it's gonna close. It's gonna go below this and probably basically go back up. And I was based off the. I'm not looking at the falling wedge setup. You feel me? Falling wedge. Falling wedge. That's it. Falling wedge. That's it. Fucking EMA. That too. I think yeah. That's how I nailed that. Definitely could have helped. But I'm getting better at it. I seen that 14. I think I seen like that 14%. I was like, yeah, shit look nice. But anyway, I ain't gonna take no more trades. Yeah. I'm very proud of myself. I literally caught that shit at like the tip of the candle wick. That's the second time in 2 days that I done did that. So I know they gonna come. Oh shit! I see this setup. Ooh, it's gonna come eventually. But you feel me? The next day I gotta do the same thing. Oh, I see this setup. And fucking win the next trade. You feel me? So I ain't worried about that shit. I'm finna post this shit. You know that.